Are y'all ready for part two? I've been looking forward to this for a long time because if Lisa keeps talking to me about Hawaii, I'm going to have to hang around Bob and figure out how to get her there. Amen. Are y'all ready? Bob, come on up here and take it, and let's go, young man.
Okay. So are you ready to go to Hawaii? No. Hey, that was a good response. Do you know, if you don't mind, this will make it easier on me. Could we move this podium like 8 feet that way? Would that be okay? And then would you over here and you over here mind being in here? Then I don't have to walk so far, and it's easier for. If you're going to leave rather than move, then stay where you are. You know, but I know sometimes people buy seats, or if they get in a different seat, they just can't receive. You know, so I don't want that to happen. Now, since I was introduced this way, I'm going to tie into this, and then we'll come back to where we normally would be anyway. Can you afford to come to Hawaii? Does it cost a whole lot of money to go to Hawaii? Yes. Not necessarily. What if you got one of these affinity credit cards, and when you made your purchases, you put it on the credit card, not that you'd get a debt, but you'd pay it either that day or pay it at the end of the month, so you never have a balance, and you began to earn miles, so that you then had enough miles for your free ticket to go to Hawaii. So your ticket would cover, right? Then what if you had another credit card that was tied to Hyatt or Marriott or somebody or Hilton, and that one you used when you weren't using the other one, and your room was free? And then you got our School of Increase bag, and I forgot to tell you this morning, but anybody bought the School of Increase, you're going to get a certificate from us that you get to come for half price. So now I've got Hawaii down to about $300. See, how many could afford to go to Hawaii for $300? All right, some of you say, well, okay, let's give you another way. I have a friend of mine. He's a very successful businessman. He's one of the top Chick-fil-A franchisees in the nation. And he was working on a book called Ask Me, that many times we do not receive for no other reason than we don't ask. So as a part of an experiment for his book, he decided that he was going to come to Hawaii, and rather than pay for it, he was just going to ask friends and ask people if they would give him $25 to help him go to Hawaii to a leadership conference that would make him a better businessman, a better father, and better in church. So he started asking people for $25. Then he said, I want enough money for my plane ticket. I want enough money for my hotel. I want enough money for my food. And I want more than that. I want to be able to take people out when I'm there, not just think of me. And he started doing that and getting $25 at a time, asking friends and sending out letters and emails and whatever it is. He got $4,000. So he didn't eat one meal in the whole event that he didn't take somebody out. Not only did he come, he blessed people. So the point is, many times we have these barriers, invisible boxes that we live in. And we think that this is out here, and we're in here, so it's not attainable because it's outside of where we're thinking, dreaming, expecting, whatever. But in reality, it's sitting there. All we have to do is get bigger to get there. And we get bigger to get there than what used to be outside of our realm of thinking and impossibility is now within the realm of it because now we've gotten bigger. So part of what Increase is all about is that we do things. It's like an exercise program. We do things to try and make our thinking box bigger so now possibilities that are there right now that are waiting for us to arrive at, we now have them become a part of our life. And that's the whole key. And when that happens, forget Hawaii. I mean, so many different things can happen to you in so many different ways in your life. So that's what it's all about. Joel Osteen says, you were not created to be average. But in order to live a life worth remembering, you must first change your thinking. Ooh, I like that. You have to make a decision. I'm not going to think small. I'm not going to think impossible. I'm going to think in the realm of the possible, in the realm of the great. And that's the real key. That's what we have to do. All right, let me give you a little story before we get started. I share with you this morning briefly the testimony of the young man, Dominic Russo. who's doing these major crusades. I did that one in Honduras where the government, he went to the government. You know how normally in missions we say, could you please let us do something? He went and met with the president of the country and said, we have different countries that want us to do this. We will do it in your country if you will agree to do the following. Give us 16 soccer stadiums free. Declare a national holiday. Let us have 8 containers come through without customs or messing us up. Allow the pre-landing fields for a 747. Whatever it was, he had all these conditions. And he said, and if you and the government will agree to this, we will come in and do these crusades for you. Otherwise, we're going somewhere else. And they said, okay, we'll do all of that. We want you to come. Isn't that a different approach? So the government of Honduras subsidizes an evangelistic campaign. I love it. And now they're working on the next one. It's going to be this next year in Dominican Republic, and it's exactly the same thing. But his brother is also, he's been around increased thinking. And I was speaking at their church a couple of years ago now. And after service, we went out to lunch, and Dominic's younger brother, Jonathan, was out with us. And he began to tell me this story. He said, I just want you to know how increased thinking has impacted my life. He said, he's in IT and video production, and he said, I was making $15 an hour, and that was fine when I was single, but when I got married, it just wasn't enough. He said, my mind at first went to thinking, what could I do? Where could I get a second job so I could get more money? But then I remember that you were taught on, don't always look and find ways to take hours and make money, but find ways for money to work for you. And I began to think, is there something I could do other than just, getting another job? He said, I had $1,600 in the bank. And I remember you shared the story about how your kids did different things to work their way through university. And your son, Rock, one of the ways he did it is Rock did it buying and selling used cars. Rock did some research, and he found out that Porsches and BMWs sold for considerably less money in California than in Tulsa. And so he made a proposition to me to be my road manager when I would do California meetings, and I would fly him to California. He would look and find a car, buy a car, and drive it back. And then the cost that I would normally spend for his plane ticket to come back, he used to drive back, so he got back free. And then I partnered with him. I bankrolled his purchases because it's a safe investment. I mean, it's secured, a car that I could sell, and the car was in my garage, so I didn't have too much trouble repoing it. And so he brought it back. The very first car that he bought and did that to was a brown Porsche 911 something. And he made, I think it was $2,200 on it. And all he did is washed it and waxed it and cleaned it and put an ad in the paper. And that was the way he worked his way through, one of the ways he raised money to work his way through school. Well, Jonathan says, I was thinking of that. He said, but I didn't know how to do it and go to California, but I'm thinking, I wonder, might cars in the inner city sell for less than cars where we live in the suburb? And he did some research, and he found out that some cars sold for less in the inner city. So he ended up buying a Ford Focus. Oh, I left a part out. He's got $1,600, so he decides to do this. And just when he's ready to do it, Best Buy has a weekend sale for big flat screen televisions for $9.95. And he said, I've wanted one. He said, the Lions were going to be good this year. He said, and this would be so great to be able to watch it on big screen. I'd still have $600. Well, he thought they were going to be good. And, and so he was tempted to go buy the TV. He'd still have $600, so he had a cushion. But he got to thinking, he said, another thing you teach is what you spend can no longer be used for seed. What you seed can multiply. See, that's not just offerings, it's a life principle. Yeah. So he said, I resisted the temptation, and I went and did some research. I found a Ford Focus in downtown, and let me see, I want to tell you the right figures. He bought it for $1,400. Brought it back, cleaned it up, ran an ad in the paper, and he sold it the next week for $2,650. Now, if you haven't figured it out, that means that he now could have $1,600 in the bank and still go buy the flat screen television. How many of you would get a TV tomorrow at Best Buy if you could go walk in and get it free? Okay, that's what he was looking at, because he could have the TV and the $1,600. But then he said, wait a minute. I have enough money, if I did it right, I could buy 2 cars and not 1. I could do this over again. So he went and bought 2 cars. Sold them, bought 2 more. This went on for a few weeks. A businessman happened to notice this Jonathan driving up to church on Sunday, and every Sunday he was driving a different car. And he got to thinking, that guy's either pushing drugs, he's got something going on the side. So he asked him, what in the world are you doing? And Jonathan explained it to him. He said, well, I'm a used car dealer in town. He said, you've got a good system going here. He said, I'll tell you what. He said, I will partner with you. I will furnish the money. You buy as many cars as you want, so you're not limited just to your little bankroll. I get a percentage of every car you sell. The month before I had lunch with Jonathan, that month, that young man had bought and sold over 100 cars in 30 days. By the way, they weren't living in an apartment anymore. They have a beautiful brick house at a suburb outside Detroit. He doesn't have the hourly job anymore. This is what he's doing full time. And as a thank you for his parents and all they did investing in his life, for Christmas, he got his parents a Chrysler 300. Now, that's the kind of kid I like. But anyway, but the point was, in both of the examples I just gave you, of the person, $25 for Hawaii, selling a car and then 2 cars and 4 cars and 8 cars. See, that kind of possibility is available to anybody here. There are opportunities for us to increase, but it's just that we haven't arrived to where those opportunities are. And what I endeavor to do is share with you and get you to begin to think this way so God can open up a whole new realm of increase into your life. I also endeavor to motivate you, because I am convinced that many times the only reason we don't do things is we're just not motivated enough. And if we get motivated enough, we find out we can do things we didn't think we otherwise could do. I was out in Southern California, and I heard the story of this young man that was taking a shortcut home one night, and he took a shortcut through a graveyard. It was a foggy night. And during the day, they dug a hole where there hadn't been a hole before for a service the next day, and he fell into the hole. And he didn't think too much about it. You know, he didn't get injured, so he just goes to crawl out. But when he goes to crawl out, it had been raining, and the air was moist, and he couldn't grab hold of it. As he grabbed hold of the dirt, it just came off in his hands, and he grabbed and he jumped, and he screamed, and finally he just said, I can't get out of here. So he decided, I'll just get over in the corner and I'll sleep. In the morning, the workers will come. I'll just call out, and they'll put a ladder down and get me out. Inconvenient, but it'll work. So he fell asleep. And a while later, he was awakened because a second person was taking a shortcut through the same graveyard and fell in the same grave. But the second guy in the darkness didn't see the first guy over in the corner. So the second guy begins to jump and try and do all this stuff to get out. And finally, the first guy notices this in frustration. He says to him, there's no use trying, you can't get out. But then he did. Because when you're motivated, you can do things you didn't think you could do. Yeah. So part of what I want to do is to motivate, yeah. But I want to recognize, by the way, some 2 special people in my life tonight that are here. Pastor Brent Bailey from Orlando. How would I define you? You'd be my step-son-in-law? That's a complicated term. Son-in-law works great. My son-in-law. Yeah, I like that better. Yeah. And Brent was with Rhema for, 12 years, 13 years? 11 years. Okay, I keep adding. Sorry, that's an increase. With Rhema for 11 years and a pioneer in a church called Direction Church in Florida. And Jody, his wife, is my stepdaughter, Sharon's oldest daughter. She was my partner relations manager for many years before they moved to here to Orlando. And just been a tremendous blessing. And she's an incredible singer. And so it's great to have you guys here. Are the boys here too? Yes, they're in nursery Oh, so I won't introduce them till later. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else? Let's do this right now. You made me think of a story when you talked about bridge today, but I have an opposite perspective on bridge, so I thought it'd be good to have them hear two sides of the bridge story. I was scheduled to speak in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and to get there you fly into Harrisburg, and to get to Harrisburg on American you go through Chicago. But when we got to the Tulsa airport, the Tulsa-Chicago flight was delayed, and so we were going to miss our connection for Chicago to Harrisburg. So they rerouted us to go Tulsa, Dallas, Dallas, Philadelphia. So we arrive in Philadelphia. It's already later than we were expecting, and so I have to rent a car. So I go over to National. They give me a rental map. I put in on my MapQuest how to get over to Philadelphia Airport to Lancaster, and it's kind of complicated. It's a series of turn right on 2-lane roads and things, but you start off in this interstate. So I'm taking off down the interstate looking for the turnoff that I'm going to take, and it's not that one, it's not that one, and finally I come to this place where I have a choice. It says to go to the left and you go across this bridge, and go to the right and you go to the street, and I don't know, do I get on the bridge or not get on the bridge? And I'm saying to the lady, talk to me. It's one of those times you just say, please, to a lady, talk to me. You know, very kind of unusual. Please, talk to me, say something. And she didn't say anything. So I said, well, it's 6 lanes this way, 2 lanes that way. It must be this way. And I decided the 6-lane way, and just then the voice says, turn right. And I found myself on the bridge that goes several miles from Pennsylvania to New Jersey. And I went 15 to 20 minutes before I could turn around, 15 to 20 minutes back. Now, when I thought of that story, I thought, you know, I knew where I wanted to go. I had a map telling me how to get there. And yet I still missed and went to the wrong place. Why? I needed somebody with me who had been there before. I needed more than just the map. And that's what's different about our CDs and our downloads that are out there at the table, is it's not just something I've learned. It's I lived it and then taught it. It wasn't that I taught it and then started living it. I mean, learned it and then started living it. And it's experiential-based teaching. So if you haven't had a chance to take advantage of the specials that we have, I just recommend them to you. Let me just take 2 quick minutes and just review it with you. I think we have 3 of these left. Let's see, where are they? This is our School of Increase bag. They're out of order. Time increase, don't ask for rent, tell it where to go, how to get rid of time wasters. One of the real neat things here is a thing called power moments. You find something you're going to do anyway, and you find out a way to have it get attention or add emotions to it, so it now becomes something special that is memorable. And so you take normal tasks, and without any extra investment on your part, it now becomes a defining moment or something. You can use it in advertising, use it in business, whatever. You know, I did it one time eating bananas for a car commercial, and it turned my dealership around, just eating bananas on TV. You just find those moments, and so we talk about that. That's powerful. How to survive life's desert seasons. He maketh me to flourish like the palm. What causes a palm tree to be able to flourish in the desert when other things are dying? Some real insightful teaching. I mean, this is a powerful one. I love this one. All right. Then we have the one I mentioned today, how to create a great multitude lifestyle. And this is based upon my favorite teaching, Luke 5, how Jesus took them from empty nets to net-breaking boats, sinking increase. Defensive strategies. Donald Trump. Success is far more difficult to maintain than it is to achieve. Think about that. We think I got to achieve something, but here's Donald Trump saying it's harder to keep it than it is to get there, because you have to have defensive strategies. Mike Dicka, all teams that win big games have great defenses. Margaret Thatcher, always keep up your defenses. Powerful teaching. We talk defense in nutrition, in life, with family, children, grandchildren, finances, whatever. We hit in every area. That's in there. Then we have, this starts out with the attitude of change. Attitudes that leaders have learned to embrace. Most people resist change. We go in a progression. We begin to accept change. Leaders embrace change. They know that everything is changing, and if they don't change, they're going to get left behind. So they're looking for the changes to make. You know, we had lunch today, and I was just constantly trying to get new information. How can I do social media? How can I change this? How can I do that? Why? Because I realized I can't have the same goods, services, and products and methods that I have now. They've changed since last year. Amen. And if I haven't changed this last year, I'm going to be left behind. And it's not enough just to change. I have to change equal to the pace of change, or I could even be changing to be left behind if the changes are taking place faster than I'm changing. And so this is a powerful one. We teach how to create an environment where increase flourishes. It's one of the most powerful concepts that I've learned in my life. I was thinking today, if I had to narrow it down, what is the most important things I've learned in my life that I would want to leave behind and share with others? I think number one is the concept of input-output. That was a turning point of my life when I realized that I am not a victim to where I am, that I can change my input and change the output of my life in any arena that I want. And the second thing would be that anything and everything only works at its best in an environment, and that I have become an environmentalist. Now, it doesn't mean I always put plastic in a green container. It means I've learned to, before I do anything, ask myself, what is the best environment that this would happen in, and how do I create that environment? For instance, when I got up to speak tonight, it's harder for me to speak with people spread out all over an auditorium. It's easier for me to speak if I don't have to move all over. So I immediately, if people would cooperate, I tried to create an environment that would be better for the teaching, because I immediately thought in terms of environment, okay? So that's a great one in here. And then, what's the last one? Oh yeah, this is a very unusual one. We were talking about this also. Break free from the bondage of debt. There are some people that should not have debt. They just shouldn't. I mean, they have a habit pattern of accumulation, or they haven't dealt with the issue of delayed gratification. And so they tend to overconsume. They tend to be too optimistic and buy more than they can pay for at the end of the month and then have problems. And until that is solved, they shouldn't have debt. I don't think debt should be for people whose primary focus in life is stability. Maybe as we get older, and what we want more than anything else is financial stability. We don't want growth. We want stability. We want to have things paid off. We want to know everything's okay so we can take off and not have to worry about income. So people like that, I think, don't have debt. But people that want to have growth and accumulation, I found time and time again, good debt can be used. Not bad debt, good debt can be used. Now, the difference is, bad debt is you buy something that has nothing behind it that can be sold to pay it off. If I go out and buy a new suit, I go to Off Fifth and I find a nice suit for half price. So I get it for $600. Let's say Hickey Freeman, $695, that'd be half price. And I get it tailored and I wear it one Sunday. And then I get into a financial problem and I need to sell that suit to raise money. How much is that $1,500 suit that I got for half price? How much can I get to pay off the debt? $50, $100. There's not something behind it that can get rid of it. See? But if I go out and I buy a condominium and I get it like for 75% loan, and then I need to get into a financial crunch and I need to sell it, I could sell that condominium and be able to liquidate the debt. See, so there's something behind it other than me. To me, that's good debt. And by doing that, see, I can multiply condominiums and I can increase my income, and the renter's paid off. And all of a sudden, boom. I have a friend of mine, he's done this, and he has like 50 properties, and they're all paid off. And he has a constant flow without ever working a day. So we share that with you. That makes up that. And then we give away free deals, how to save money, everything you buy, and fly free, stay free. So that's our best special. That's $299, 3 payments of $99. We have it in the flash drive if you want to get it for $100 less. This is another great one. 101 Bible-based success strategies, all taught in a 4-minute format. You can download it when you drive around or have a few minutes, and it's called PowerPoints for Increase. 101 Bible-based success strategies, and we have that for $39 back at the table. One of the churches that I regularly go to is not a large church in Phoenix, but it's a great church. I love the pastor. And it's a church that we go to every year. And we go there every year for several reasons. Number one, I find that one of the greatest ways to create increase is through repetition. And so if there can be follow-up, it begins to sink in and happen. But number two, this pastor has 2 members of his congregation that have season tickets to the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't get to many football games, but I'm selective. I like to go to them. And so what he does, he said to me on April the 15th when the NFL schedule comes out, look at it and let me know what Cardinal game you would like to go to. And that's the Sunday we'd like you to come and speak at the church. And so we speak at the church and go see Arizona Green Bay. Last year it was Arizona San Francisco. The year before that it was Arizona Pittsburgh. And this year it's going to be Arizona Seahawks. And so I love going to the church. Anyway, yeah. And this last, a couple times ago, this man came up to me. His name is Sergio. He said, I want you to know that when you were here a few years ago, I bought your School of Increase. He said, what I learned and applied had caused so much change in my thinking and my life that today I would give you $5,000 for that bag. Now, he caught my attention. So I said, why? He said, when I bought that bag, I was making $42,000 a year. He said, now I'm making $42,000 every 2 weeks. See, that's the kind of change can take place when we change the input in our life, whether it's that bag or something, find some way to change the input in our life. Okay, well, I announced to you today that we were going to tonight piggyback with what I shared with you this morning and talk to you about some of the ways that you can begin to experience that increase. But we're not going to do that because I do teach on change. And we got inspired at lunch as we were talking and answering questions to go a little different direction, but you're still going to pick up some increased strategies. So don't be disappointed. You're going to get some real good material. But Lisa began to ask me all these questions about how did you turn this dealership around? You say this story, I did this, and we had to increase on 300%, whatever. How did you do it? And so as we began to share, I said, let's just do that tonight. So we're going to piggyback with that, but you're going to hear some points and here's the goal I really recommend to you. I think that we're going to have 7 keys. If you just grab one, if the other 6 don't apply to you right now, and you could just grab one of these 7, and you could make one of these 7 work in your life in the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you could kick off an incredible spurt of increase in your life just by picking one of them. You say, which one? I don't know. That's up to you. And so let's take a look at it. All right. So, is it all right if I don't wear a coat? Do you always wear a coat when you speak? You're good. Is that all right? I kind of feel like family here as well. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, see, this is me. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's piggyback with a quick summary of the story I shared with you this morning. And then let's go back and look at how did you do it. Now, I'm not telling you the story tonight in the sense of telling you my story. I'm centering my teaching around the story. And so it'll help you, I think, the story to remember the principles and the points, because as you think about the story, you'll remember the points. Otherwise, I wouldn't tell you the story, because tonight's not about me, it's about you. But we're just going to center the teaching around the story, because I think that helps with memory. So I took the car in to get the oil change, and the owner of the dealership happened to be out in the service drive. All right. So the first thing that I mentioned this morning, we won't teach on it, but I at least want to review it, is God can change your life in one day. You can take a car in to get service, and that conversation can open up a whole new door to you. I was invited to lunch one day, and it turned out to be that lunch was with one of the top people involved in multiple-level marketing company, and that resulted in me, within 6 months later, speaking to 20,000 people and having about $100,000 in product sales in 1 hour. Just from a lunch. So you can have those divine appointments, those one-day turnarounds that can change your life, give you an idea, give you a strategy, open up a door, or whatever. And so I would say to you, begin to get an expectation of those one days happening in your life. Now, every day something positive can happen to you. I love what Oral Roberts says, something good is going to happen to you today. He didn't say tomorrow. He didn't say this week. He didn't say this month. He didn't say this year. He says something good is going to happen to you today. So start getting expectancy for something good to happen every day. And then out of all the little things that happen every day, you're going to have big day things happen. But you begin to get the habit pattern of expecting it and thanking God for it in advance and waking up in the morning to not wait. You just can't wait to see what's going to happen that day. So that's part of it. God can totally change your life in one day. Now, part of the thing that's going to happen, that you're going to have to do for that to happen for some of you, sometimes that one day is going to happen when you're in a valley. It isn't always going to happen just in our normal life. Sometimes in those valley experiences, when we're desperate, we're going through a marital problem, we're going through a physical problem, we're going through a financial difficulty, and we're just trying to hang on, and we just can't feel we can't hang on any longer. The reason we hang on is because we're believing for the one day. We don't believe it's going to stay that way. We believe that something's going to happen that's going to trigger the change to take place in our life. Years ago, we honored Oral Roberts. We did a banquet in Tulsa honoring Oral Roberts as Christian Leader of the Year. And as part of that banquet, we did a question and answer. And I asked Oral, how did he become the person? If you're not familiar with the story of Oral Roberts, his life is one of the most amazing lives, regardless of where you are theologically or not theologically. His life is one of the most amazing lives of anybody I've studied. I mean, this guy, when you think about it, you know, the number one evangelist and 10 evangelists in America, opens up and pays for a Christian university, national television program, raised up in today's money over $200 million to build a City of Faith complex and open it up debt-free. I mean, just the things he accomplished in his life, phrases he introduced to it, just amazing man. So I said, how did you become a person to accomplish such great things? And he said to me, my secret to success is I lasted. I'd never forget that. I lasted. He said, others came and they had moral problems and they faded away. Others came and they had physical or financial problems. They faded away. Others overexpanded and they faded away. He said, I'm still around. That's the reason I'm successful. He said, there was a time I didn't have the largest tent. I wasn't the number one ministry, but the others left. They're gone, and I'm still there. So sometimes just hanging in there. You hang in there not just to hang in there. You hang in there because you believe it's going to change. And always remember, it is darkest just before the sunrise. So when it gets really bad, start getting excited, because that means the darkness is ending, the sunshine is coming. Yes. Turn to somebody next to you, sunshine is coming. No. Oh, boy. Now, to function as an increased thinker and this mentality, you're going to have to make a decision, each of you individually, that you are going to have what I call contrary thinking. Now, that doesn't mean you're contrary, hard to get along with. Meaning your thinking is going to have to be opposite than the masses. Because if your life is based upon how you think, and you think like everybody else, then what kind of life you're going to have? Like everybody else. But if you begin to think differently than they do, see, then you have a different life. So you recognize Warren Buffett says one of his keys to investing is he runs opposite of the herd. So when they want to sell, he wants to buy. When they want to buy, he wants to sell. He's learned to be, but if you don't know who he is, he's the richest man in America. But he said his secret is contrary thinking. Well, and that's the way we have to think. We have to develop the ability to be in a negative season or surrounded in a negative event or at a negative time, have enough information to know how to act, but to protect ourselves not to get negative. Now that's where defensive thinking comes in. See, to me, defensive thinking is not just a matter I'm going to have double door locks or, you know, whatever it might be, or a security alarm, or, you know, I'm going to get physical every year. Defensive thinking means I am going to protect my eyes and I'm going to protect my ears. And I'm going to be very careful what I allow to come into my eyes and what I allow to come into my ears, because everything that comes into your eyes and your ears becomes a part of your thinking and a part of your feelings. So if there is a tragedy, you can't watch hours of that tragedy and not begin to think and feel what that's. And so I'm very careful when something like that happens. I get enough to know what's going on, but I don't get glued to it, even though my emotions want me to be glued to it. because that's how they make the money, because they make the money by having you stay there longer watching more commercials. And so they program it that way. But I carefully watch how much of anything negative that I expose myself to and how much anything negative I listen to. I filter myself very carefully from negative talking and negative thinking people. I filter myself from negative news. I try to be, and then it's not enough, and over here I try to bring in the positive. So I'm constantly trying to watch the negative, bring in the positive. Why? So that I can maintain a positive, Christ-oriented mentality of expecting and believing for God to do good things. And it doesn't just happen, but any of you can do it. Right. This isn't something special to me. I've just learned how to do it, and I'm doing it. That's all. But it's a part of the daily walk that I have. I'm careful of the songs I listen to and the movies I will go see. I mean, I've been to see the movie Jaws twice. No, I've seen the movie Jaws 3 times, and I still haven't seen the shark eating anybody. Because whenever the music starts, I go like this. Because I swim in the ocean. And I know that if I see pictures of people getting eaten by sharks in the ocean, my swimming days will never be the same. So I know that's an extreme example, but it illustrates what I'm talking about. And so I carefully watch what I look at. And let me just touch on this. I didn't intend to, but it's good. Charisma Magazine, the current issue, I recommend it to you. It's one of the best ones I think they've done in years. And they're doing features on people dealing with addictions and how to break the power of addictions through our own actions and also the power of God, natural and spiritual working together. And one of the writers in one of the articles made a statement that he said that he believed that over 50% of church-going men are becoming addicted to pornography. Not the world, church-going men. And in the article, he talked about how it starts because they are bored or they're stressed or whatever, and it brings excitement and releases chemicals, and they're in control of it. There's certain. He said, but what happens is they repeatedly go back to it because of the positive reaction it created, and they fail to recognize as they go back to it enough times, they become addicted to it. It becomes a habit pattern of their life and takes over their life and their behavior. Well, I see that in the negative. See, and so number one, on those kind of things, you have to protect yourself. You have to say, don't look at the one-time event. Look at where will this take me if I continue it? And if it doesn't take you to a right place, if you continue it, then stop it before you get to the process. You can't stop it. But then you look on the other side, you say, where will this take me if I do continue it? Yeah. And that's the thing you want to do. See? If any of you are really believing to go to Hawaii, let me tell you what to do. Get pictures of Hawaii and put them on your refrigerator. Yeah. Put a picture of Hawaii on your iPhone. Play Hawaiian music when you drive the car. Go buy some Tommy Bahama Hawaiian shirts. Whatever it takes, start taking yourself in the direction you want to go and protect yourself from the direction you don't want to go. All right. So that's the key. All right, so now we haven't even gotten to the first key. Yeah, these aren't one of the 7, by the way. This is all bonus. Come on. But I'll go fast, and I'll watch the time. Really, I'm looking every 5 minutes. I'm seeing where we are. Okay. Because I want you to see that it wasn't a matter that Bob Harrison met a dealer who had a desperate moment and had an opportunity. That guy was out there talking to a lot of people in the service drive. But when he talked to me, it was different. And what made it different? What made it different was, I don't think it was an accident that I was there at that moment. I shouldn't have been there, by the way. I locked the door to the office and was going home to dinner to my family that was waiting for me. And I noticed a customer's car there that was waiting for one of our people to take it in for service the next morning. I realized that if they took it in the next morning at 9 a.m., that customer might not get it back that day because people would be in line from 7:30 to 9 ahead of him. But if I could take the car in that night, that he would be first in line because he'd be before all the people that got there at 7:30 in the morning. So I went back in and got the keys to the car, and I drove the car over to the dealership just so the customer could get his car back sooner. If I hadn't done that, I would have missed my appointment, because that's when I met the owner. It was after hours, and that's why he was out there. I say that to you because one of the things that's going to create divine appointments for you, and I don't want to teach on it, but I do want to mention it, is when you make a decision to begin in everything you do to do more than what is expected.
That is good.
Do more than what's expected. We live in a world of average. And where everybody wants to know, what do they have to do to get by? What do they have to do to survive? What do they have to do to make it? And they're not thinking about, what can I do to stand out? And one of the greatest ways to stand out is just do more than what's expected. In everything you do, just add a touch. Make it a habit pattern of your life that you're going to add something to it that is going to be more than what's expected. See, we're doing that right now because I haven't even got to point one. But I feel it's important that you catch the foundational keys that make the other things work. See? And the foundational keys are, number one, I did more than was expected. Number two, I had a great reputation with this person. And number three, I believe that prayer is not just for power. Prayer is for his presence. And when I have his presence, I have his voice. And if I've learned to listen to his voice, I will be at the right place at the right time. You will have some one-day appointments in the natural world. Natural people have them. You can listen to their lives and they can just say, I was in the studio and the disc jockey was drunk and Les Brown. That's how he got started in his great speaking thing. He said, I was the engineer and the disc jockey was drunk and couldn't do it. And I called the owner and he said, just play some records until somebody gets down there. And he said, I didn't do that. He said, I just went over, took over the microphone and said, this is Les Brown. And I took over and he became the disc jockey. So it had nothing to do with God necessarily. It just was, he was there. But when your steps are directed of the Lord. Now, I think it's very careful you recognize they're not commanded of the Lord. They're directed. So that involves listening or hearing, and it involves obedience. And one of the scariest things to do until you get used to it is making decisions without visual or knowledgeable evidence that the decision is right. That you learn to move when you sense something in your spirit, even when your emotions don't agree with it, or you don't have emotions, or your mind is screaming no. But when you get to that point, you will be at the right place, at the right time for things to happen. I want to introduce you. Boy, I'm changing all over. We will get to the points. I promise. Do I have a picture of this? All right, sure. Don't have that. Okay. I was going to introduce you to one of my pictures. Oh, yes. You know, my briefcase is in pastor's office. In the outer zipper compartment are a whole bunch of these. If you just bring them to me, and I'll tell you the story. Is that yeah? All right. Now you're going to get all the material. I just, you know, when it's like this, I can just be different. You know, when I speak to 20, 30,000 people, every word is scripted. I mean, I have 18 minutes. I can tell you at 7 minutes, I'm going to be at this stage, I'm going to be like this, and I'm going to be saying that. Because it is so scripted, because it has to be for that kind of presentation. But this is what I love. Just kind of like, you know, talking, sharing from the heart. All right, divine appointment. One of the questions you asked today about buying vehicles. It's great to have a new car. There's sometimes we need to have new cars for the image, or because the miles we drive, or because, you know, whatever, or we just have the finances, it doesn't matter. But for me, knowing the automobile business, I like to buy 1 or 2 year old used cars, low mileage, because I like to have somebody else take the big hit on depreciation, and then I take the little hit. Because, see, increased thinkers want to reduce cost. It's not just about making money. We're always thinking about how can we reduce cost. When we reduce cost, is reduce depreciation. So I was going to upgrade my car, and so I was going to get a Mercedes 4-door. So I call a partner of mine that has a dealership in Kansas City, and he offered to, anytime I wanted to get a Mercedes, that he would take me to the Mercedes auction where the dealers buy their cars. And so we go up there, and I'm walking around looking for to pick out the cars I'm going to bid on. There's 350 of them that are going to be auctioned, but I'm only interested in some of them. You know, they got to be black, they got to be under 20,000 miles, they got to be 2 years or less, and they got to be under warranty. So, I mean, I'm limited to which ones I'm going to bid on, so I'm writing down the numbers so I know when to bid. And as I'm walking down this thing, and my wife was there, or she wasn't my wife then, but she came up with me to help me select cars. And so Sharon was there, and I look around, I lost Sharon. Isn't that a strange thing, just to be walking around and Sharon disappears? Yeah, no, not at all. Sharon just tends to wander off wherever, you know, and she's not lost, she's just directed a different way. And so I couldn't find her, so I look around to try and find her, and finally I found her. It was a cold day, and she was sitting in this dark blue Porsche convertible with the engine running and the heater going. And, you know, I said, what do you do? She said, well, I'm just warming up. She said, isn't this a nice car? And I said, yes, but what's a Porsche doing at a Mercedes auction? Now, I'm there to get a Mercedes. And this voice says to me, you could use a midlife boost. So I decided that if that Porsche came through the auction at anywhere near wholesale, I was going to buy that Porsche convertible for my toy. And wouldn't you know it, that isn't what happened. Because it was a day before snow and it was freezing, and because I was in St. Louis and not in Florida, and because it was November, going into December and January, the coldest months of the year, nobody was interested in bidding on that Porsche convertible. So I bought it for $6,000 under wholesale. Now, let me explain to you what that means. That's just numbers. That meant that I could drive that Porsche convertible for 2 to 3 years and sell it for more than I paid for it. All right. Some of you still aren't getting it. Okay. If you had a choice, would you rather drive a Ford Taurus for $350 a month or a Porsche free? Now, the point I make is, I wasn't expecting to see a Porsche. But see, it wasn't a person that interrupted me that day. My one day was the Porsche convertible. Now, I ended up not selling it because I love that car. I only drive it 2,000 or 3,000 miles a year. It's kind of, you know, second car toy. But the point is, I had a one-day appointment with a dream car. I've been in the car business. I was in car business 16 years. No car has ever excited me. I've never enjoyed any car as much as that Porsche. Tomorrow, when I get back to Tulsa, I will put my suitcase in the kitchen. I will go get the keys to the Porsche, put the top down, go for a spin listening to the Beach Boys. Positive input. Okay. But part of that, I believe, is my steps are directed of the Lord. The steps are directed of the Lord. Okay, did we find that picture? Did he ever get back?
He's in the Porsche.
He's dreaming. It's just the outside zipper compartment, you know? Okay, well, all right, maybe we'll show it to you at the end. No. I thought I had it here. Let me look.
Lisa's loving that.
Okay. Oh, she had Hawaii, Porsche.
We're go to Hawaii. He's bugging me.
Okay. Well, the best way, another good way to get to Hawaii is before you do the giant, do the lion and the bear. Join us in Florida. You don't have to pay as much. You don't have to fly as far. It's 3 days instead of 5 days. And it's powerful. So anyway, so much for that. All right. Okay. So I'm going to get the picture. If we don't have it, I'm just going to keep on going. Do we have it? They can't even find my briefcase. Okay, forget it. Oh my goodness, I didn't bring the briefcase in. I'm sorry. Forget it. I brought it in this morning. It's in the car. Oh, that poor guy. He's looking all over. He said my steps are directed. Do I dare tell him I can't find it? They could not find the picture. They couldn't find the briefcase. Now they probably can't find the car. Okay.
Can't find the usher.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. All right, so we'll move right along. So, I think I can do these points in 25 minutes. So let's just get on. What were the actual keys of turning around the dealership that you could take and apply into your life? Number one, detached viewing. Detached viewing. Did we ever get our PowerPoints working, or did we not? We're not able to get it downloaded. What's that mean?
You just lost Justin. You're the guy that asked left, looking for the briefcase.
Oh. Oh, okay. What is wrong with Justin? Why can't he play the drums, go to the car, and do IT at the same time? Don't you know we teach multitasking? I don't understand this. Okay. All right. What? That's okay. We're just making light. We're having a good time. Huh? I know it's in the trunk. It's in the back of my car. I just realized that I never brought it in because I said I don't need it. Okay, do you mind, Brent? It's in the back. The keys are on the pastor's desk. It's in the back. Actually, Brent. Yeah, Brent. Actually, I don't even need the case. Just bring all the plastic thing. Yeah.
Where's your keys at?
Yeah, keys are on the pastor's desk, right by my phone there. Yeah. I'm loving this tonight. I don't know about you, but I'm having a ball.
Here's your PowerPoint.
Bob's teaching at Who's Report. That's not it. That's a whole different teaching. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I like that. That's good. Okay, save it. Okay. All right. Well, I'll show you the picture at the end. Okay. So we'll move on. The very first day when I arrived at the dealership, I did one of the most important things that I would do of anything I did for the turnaround of that dealership. I walked across the street. And I looked and I asked myself, if somebody drives up to this business, what do they see and what do they feel? If somebody drives up to this business, what do they see and what do they feel? And you know what the answer was? It looked like a business that was going under. Have you been around businesses that are going under? Yes. One of the first things people do when finances get tight is a thing called deferred maintenance. They stop keeping up on things. This business, weeds were growing in the flower bed. Plants were dying. Papers were blowing on the lot. It only had half as many cars as could be parked up front. The windows were dirty. It just had a disheveled look. And the Bible says that everything reproduces after its own kind. So if the image is looking like it's going out of business, the only people that are going to come there are people that want to steal something from me, not steal, get an unbelievable deal, which wouldn't have any profit in it, because they think you're going under, so you're desperate. So what I had to do is I had to have a detached view. What do I see? What do I feel? And when I recognized what it was and what I saw and what I felt, I said, I have to change that or everything else I do after that will not work. Remember I shared with you about environment? I had to create the environment for a turnaround before a turnaround could happen. And so I hired a landscaper. I'll be honest with you. The worst fight that I ever had with that owner, because I didn't own the dealership yet. I had 22% option. But the worst fight I ever had with that dealer was that day. The business manager phoned him and told him I hired a landscaper to come in and put new bark in, new plants in, and all this stuff, and he was livid. He called me and said, I didn't hire you to make the place look nice. I hired you to sell cars. No. And I said to him, if you want me to do it, let me do it. And so, and it's not on the back? No. Don't tell me. Excuse me. It's gone. Okay. Well, sorry. You don't get to see it. Okay. Even when I had it, I didn't. So what church did I leave it at? Who took my Porsche? And so I had to change. Anyway, and I said to him, if what you're doing didn't work, So give me a chance to try what I'm doing. Give me 30 days and then let's take a look at it. But I changed the look. So the question I would ask is, if somebody sees your business, yourself, your website, your cards, whatever it might be, what is the first impression? You never get a second chance at a first impression. And so that first impression better be the right impression for who you're trying to reach. Now, it's totally different for different markets. Like, if you're in New York City and you're trying to see somebody, maybe it's going to be a pinstripe, a blue suit or a pinstripe suit. But if you're in Oklahoma and you're going to see somebody, it might be Levi's and cowboy boots. See, so the look isn't uniform. The look will change with who you're trying to reach, but you better know what is that first impression that I should have that's going to cause increase to take place in my life. We never found that. We don't have it, right? The one I emailed?
No, the email never came through.
Email never came through. Well, could we email it again? No? I mean, if you had my phone, could you make it come again? Or would you just forget it? Well, just forget it. Okay. All right. I was going to show you a picture of a pickup truck. I have a second home in the Palm Springs area of California. It's at a place called La Quinta Country Club. Maybe some of you are familiar with it if you're golfers. It's one of the 4 courses where they play the Humana Bob Hope Desert Classic every January. And I needed some work done, so I called my friend that has a bunch of rental units, and I just asked him if he could recommend somebody. And this guy comes up with this sharp, incredible pickup truck, clean washed. The whole truck is a sign. I mean, just done so professionally, decal or whatever it is. And I just immediately thought, man, this guy, if that's what he's driving and that's the way he takes care of his truck, he's going to take care of me. In other words, his truck created a positive impression. Not only was it good advertising, it created a positive impression when it drove up. So if you drive up, what impression does your vehicle create? And it doesn't have to be new. But is it taken care of? Does it positively represent you? How about the way you look or anything to do with it? Number one, take a detached view. I'd recommend all of you do that. And ask yourself, is this the look that I need to have? All right? And by the way, I don't have time to teach on tonight. I don't want to get into it, but also we're impacted by what we see. It's one of the reasons why I'm such a stickler to try and have everything decent and in order. I have a couple piles in my house. I have one on top of my desk, and I don't know where the other one be. I think that's my only pile now. But basically, I just have to work in where things are in order because I think better and I function better when I'm in that. So that might be something that you want to consider, all right? And number 2, I had to change the people. The people that got you to where you are could be the very people that keep you from going where you need to be. In other words, they have reached where their dreams were, wage-wise or income-wise or whatever, but you haven't reached where you want to go. So now you want to go on, but you have to pull them because they don't want to go on. And sometimes we have to make changes of people and get people now that want to go to the level we want to get because the people that we had don't want to go any further. They've arrived at their destination. So I had to change people. I had maintainers there. I didn't have growers there. I didn't have people. They were happy just having their job and just, as long as it didn't go under, just do the bare minimum to keep it from going under. I actually had some people that, oh my goodness, you'll love this one. This is an honest to goodness true story. When you hear the story, you're going to wonder, yeah, I'm not making it up. I actually had some people, fixed pie thinkers there that were really concerned if we became too successful, that it would cause problems in us. We pride or having too much money or the poor wouldn't have enough. I don't know what. I'm walking across the showroom floor one day. I look out on the lot, and out on the lot is a customer, and nobody's taking care of him. I have 3 salesmen working. If you have 3 salesmen working, one of them ought to be able to take care of a customer. So I'm looking around, where are my 3 salesmen? I walk over, and I find the 3 of them sitting in one of the sales booths. So I say, guys, what are you doing? They said, we're praying. I said, I believe in the power of prayer. But the answer to your prayer is out walking on the lot.
Come on.
Yeah. So one of them goes out to take care of the customer. The other two still are there. So I said to the other two, by the way, what were you praying about? And they said, we heard that this could be a record-breaking month for the dealership. We're concerned that success coming too fast could ruin you. So we were praying for God to slow the sales down. I've got everything on the line. I'm working 68 hours a week. I'm doing everything I can to turn the dealership around. And 3 of my employees, 3 of my ex-employees were praying for decrease. Can you see if that's what my team was made of, it would be impossible for me to turn that store around. So I had to change some people. And sometimes we have to change. Maybe they're not people that work with us. Maybe we have to change those people that are close to us. Maybe we have some friends around us that we have a lot in common with, but they're a real negative influence in our life. They're trying to destroy our dreams rather than build up our dreams. They're always telling us what's wrong rather than what's right. Or they're not willing to grow spiritually as we want to grow spiritually. I'm not saying we dump them. I'm not saying, send them an email. Bob Harrison tonight at the meeting convinced me I need to dump you as a friend. But what I am saying is this. You can't afford to have the wrong people close to you. You can have them in your life, but you can't have them close to you. Those people that are close to you have to be people that are feeding you in the area where you need to grow and you want to accelerate. So be very careful who's in that inner circle that you allow in your life. All right? Next one I made. We didn't have the money to run full-page ads or television advertising. We didn't have it in our budget. The money wasn't in the bank. So how in the world are we going to let people know that we're in business if we don't advertise? And we can't advertise because we don't have money. Well, the first thing I recognized is I had to give people a reason to want to come to us. I had to ask myself, how are we different than the other dealerships? What makes us different? Why should somebody come to us and not go to Jerry Goodwin Dodge? Or not go to McCoy Mills Ford? Or, whatever it might be. What is different about us? See, if you can't find a point of difference, there's no reason for you to be out in the marketplace or no reason to be in business. What is your point of difference? What do you offer that others don't offer? What do you give that others don't give? What do you do that others don't do? And this is not true if you own a business. It's true just as an individual. What is your point of difference? What is different about you? If you're doing a job interview, what is different about you? Why should they hire you? That's all a matter of point of difference. And if you can't identify it, nobody else is going to. So I had to figure out where were we different. And I came up with some real keys. Number one, I realized we were different because we were the only dealership in a major metropolitan area, Orange County, California, that was willing to advertise our Christian heritage. There might have been a couple of other Christian dealers, but that was secret. Nobody was advertising to the Christian marketplace. Nobody. So point of difference was we operated with honesty, integrity, and service. That we weren't going to treat people with high pressure. We weren't going to try and steal their trades. It was going to be they were going to sense a difference when they came to our dealership. The second thing was different was we were the only Chrysler dealer north of Disneyland. There was a Dodge dealer, but we were the only Chrysler dealer in all of North Orange County. Therefore, one point of difference was we were the only ones in that market. So those are two of our key points of difference. Now, once we understood our points of difference, we could go to the next step. And the next step was market in your niche, not to the mass market. Market to your niche, not to the mass market. In other words, we now, because of our point of difference, we could identify our market. What was our market? Our market was Christians, and our market was people that lived in North Orange County. So I don't have to advertise all of Orange County. I advertise North Orange County. So we ended up spending over 50% of our advertising budget advertising on Christian radio, Christian Yellow Pages, Christian newspaper, and I was able to work out a trade deal with a Christian television program that was going on and traded in some cars for mentioning our dealership, never knowing that that Christian television program would become something called Trinity Broadcasting. And they were driving our cars and we were advertising on them in exchange. But that was a key. I found the niche, the Christian marketplace. And the other key was I advertised to North Orange County. And advertising in North Orange County, I didn't just advertise to them, I became part of the county. By the way, let's go back to Christian. We did something unusual. And I say this just to get your mind working. One of the hardest things to do if somebody doesn't know you or know your business is to know whether they should do business with you, because you're just a stranger like all the others are strangers. If you could find some way to break that invisible barrier, maybe in a non-business environment, you meet them at lunch or whatever, they get acquainted, you talk to you, whatever, now all of a sudden you're somebody personal to them. You're not just somebody they see in the Yellow Pages or online. You have an edge over everybody else because they now have a positive feeling about you. So we realized that. So one of the things we did that really helped us, we did twice a year, we did Christian concerts at our dealership. We took the cars off the showroom floor, cleared them off part of the lot, brought in guest concert people. We'd have 1,000, 1,500 people come to our dealership for free Christian concerts. Not to sell cars, just to come there. Once they came there and experienced it, if they wanted to buy a car, guess who was the first person they thought about? Somebody that they felt warm about and going to a place that they'd already been. So I found ways to get them there in a way that was unusual, not by my line of work, just to get them used to coming there. And in coming there, they got used to being there. Okay? All right. Now, then we did niche marketing. Let's go back to that real quick. One of our keys was marketing, niche marketing, advertising. We also got involved in the community. I had my own 128-piece marching band. What does it cost you to have a 128-piece marching band that marched in all the parades in North Orange County? Hardly anything. I found this band that was on the verge of dissolving because they didn't have money, and I got them to agree to carry a banner that said, presented by Bob Harrison Chrysler Plymouth, in front of all their parades, and I gave them $1,000 a parade. So I had a marching band for $1,000. But it showed that I was involved in the community. But the point was, you find a way to market to the niche that you're called to. Point of difference in the niche. All right? Next one. You have to create motion. If there's an area where I have expertise in, one of the areas I have expertise in is the ability to create motion in the direction that I want something to go, whatever that might be. I've developed over the years an innate second sense on how to create that motion. And it's very important because, most of the time, a body at rest tends to stay at rest. And to have increase has to have movement, has to have motion. So you have to become the person to generate that motion or to cause people to want to move in some way. And so you're always trying to find, how can I figure out ways to get them to move in the direction that I want them to go? And so I thought, how can I create motion? Let me give you one example. Oh, I didn't tell you about cleaning the cars up. Oh, that doesn't matter. I found there were 60 cars in storage in the back, and I gave my people 1 week to get them cleaned up and get them on the front because that's part of that visual. If you don't look like a volume dealer, you're never going to be a volume dealer. So we had to have the look. So we get all the cars up front. We hire new people and train them. We're now ready for our big first day of advertising. We run a full-page ad, big sale, and it's working. People are coming on the lot. They were there at 9 a.m., people walking on the lot. It was exciting. They come on out, look at the cars, come walking over here, looking at cars, walking over, looking at cars. And all of a sudden I realized that morning, everybody's walking and looking at cars. If I'm not charging admission like Disney World, I'm not making any money. I don't make any money for people to look at cars. I make money if they buy cars. But I didn't have anybody buying, I only had people looking. So how would I create the motion for them to go from looking to buying? How do you create that motion? Well, there's a step in between, and that's normally people will not buy a car they don't drive. They want to see how it feels. How's the seat feel? How does it drive when they turn or whatever? So the key is get him to go on a demo ride. Well, nobody was doing a demo ride. So I ran into the sales office. I found 2 salesmen in the office. I said, for the next hour, I said, George, you're a customer. You're a salesman. Go out on the lot, and all I want you to do is walk around cars, drive them around the block, and go get another car and drive it around the block. Give each other demo rides. Why? I had to create motion in the direction I wanted it to go. Then I said to the sales manager, I said, we got to make it sound like something's happening here. I want you every 5 minutes to just page somebody. I said, I don't care what, just start paging, just make it sound like things are happening here. And he said, Bob Harrison, please leave the sales office and go to the restroom. I mean, but because we created the motion, we ended up with the biggest sales day in the history of that dealership up to that day. So what direction do you want people to go? How do you create motion for them to go in that direction? Right? Another thing I did. You have a dealership that's out of money. You have 100 of last year's previous cars in stock. You're desperately trying to figure out how to turn it around. And guess what I did the first week? I phoned my pastor, Ralph Wilkerson of Melodyland, and I said, Pastor, I said, I know you're leasing a Lincoln Continental. I said, how instead of leasing a Lincoln Continental would you like to drive a new Chrysler free? I'd like to give you a car to drive free every 6 months. Now, if you're out of money, why would you give somebody a car? I mean, that doesn't make sense. A car that you could sell and make money. A nice car. Not one of your 100 turkeys. One of the nice ones. Why would you do that? Because the Bible says what you sow is what you reap. See, I began to take that verse literally. What? What I sow is what I reap. So what did I need to reap? Car sales. Yeah, that's the right answer. Car sales. So what did I need to sow? Cars, you got it. Bingo. You're up to the $1,000 level. Now, it turned out to be one of the best things I could do because Pastor referred so many customers to me. I personally think every dealer in every city should be giving cars to pastors free.
I do too.
I do too. Yeah, okay. I do, yeah. Because what they sow is what they're going to reap, and whatever soil to plant in, then plant in churches that are making such a difference in the spiritual and moral emphasis of a city. But the point was, I began to apply the law of sowing and reaping. By the way, I didn't just give Kenneth Hagin that car we talked about this morning because I liked him. At that time, I mean, I was familiar with the ministry. I had been to a couple camp meetings, but I mean, it wasn't like we were close friends. I wasn't on the board yet or anything like this. But I respected that ministry, and a couple of my closest friends had been tremendously impacted by it, Blaine Ambergy and Joe Nanowski in particular. And so because of that, I honored him, and I just said, whenever you're in Southern California, I want to give you a free car to drive so you don't have rental expense. And what you said was exactly right, but let me be real specific on it, to go back to that story this morning. When I got the car, let's put it in context. I don't want to take time, but some of the worst experiences I had in the dealership was loaning cars to people in ministry. It was like they had a different standard. I mean, one of them I loaned a car to, and I found out they just left it at the hotel and never brought it back. It sat at the hotel parking lot for 3 weeks. Another one left me the car and gave me a call. I ran out of time. I'm sorry, it's the red zone at TWA at LAX, and so we had to get it out of impound. Another one left me a car in Missouri, and we had to get back. I mean, just horrible experiences with giving them cars. In the midst of that comes Kenneth Hagin. I was attracted to the word message by the actions of the people more than the words that they spoke.
Yes, I was too.
Yeah, because they lived what they said. No, I'm sorry. They said what they lived. So Brother Hagin, we bring the car back, give it to Brother Hagin and give him this car. And then 30 days later, he's back in Southern California. I say to my manager, well, give him the car we gave him last time. He told me he liked that. And he came back, he said, it's not here, we sold it. I said, okay, well, what other do we have? Give him that nice car. We got it back and got the car back. And I said to him, give him the car he had last time. That car sold. It happened 3 times in a row. The third time I said, wait a minute. Every car I'm giving this guy is selling. So I said to him, what car that's nice have we had in inventory over 30 days? Give him the cars we haven't sold. Every time from Brother Hagin, a car came back, washed, full tank of gas, a thank you note on the dash, and he told me later he laid hands on it and called it sold. So, yeah. So what you sow is what you're going to reap. All right? All right, last one. What was the biggest problem that I faced in turning around the dealership? What was the biggest problem? What if I couldn't figure out a way to do, nothing else would work? Everything I've told you wouldn't work if I didn't do this one thing. I had to find a way to get rid of 100-year-old cars, year-old new cars. That if I didn't get rid of them, we're soon going to be 2-year-old new cars. And the problem was they were 8-cylinder, and gas stations were open an hour a day, every other day. We were in the middle of the gas crisis, and gas prices had doubled in the previous 45 days. So I wasn't just dealing with $8 a gallon in today's money. I was also dealing with the fact that you couldn't get gas at $8 a gallon. And I have to sell these 8-cylinder cars. Now, there's still a market for them, by the way. Anything can be sold. Anything can be sold at a price. Just the price changes. So it wasn't a matter I couldn't sell the cars. I just couldn't sell the cars and make a profit. The only way to get rid of the cars was to sell them at a loss. Simple. I'm just going to sell the cars, maybe lose $2,000 to $5,000 a car and get rid of them. Oh, remember, I don't have any money. So how can I take a loss and get rid of them if I don't have any money? I had to find a way then to get income to offset the loss. When I was in prayer one morning, all of a sudden it just came to me. I heard God speak to me and says, what's in your hand? And it took me back to the story of the boy with the loaves and the fishes, and how God took what was there and he multiplied what they had. I said, well, cars. And then it hit me. I didn't have cars. I had new cars, used cars. They're different, like good debt and bad debt, good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. They're different. I couldn't do anything about the new cars. I'm stuck with them. I own them. They're you know. But used cars, I could go to the auction and buy more used cars. What if I bought 6-cylinder and 4-cylinder cars that were hot and people were buying, and I made money on those, and then over here I sold these ones and sold them at a loss, and I took the income from these and compensated for the loss over here? I could liquidate my inventory without any money. That's it. I'm going to buy a bunch of used cars. Oh, but I don't have any money. So how can I buy used cars? Psalms 5:12. The righteous is a compass about with a spirit of favor. I called my banker and I said to them, I know our financing line's at the limit, but I have an idea how to get rid of these old cars if we're partnered together. I said, if you'll give me a few $100,000, I can go to the auction and I can buy these used cars. Now, if he has to liquidate the new cars, they're going to lose money because they own them. They're financing. They'll lose a fortune. But the used cars, if I'm buying them at an auction, they could sell them the next auction. They can't lose. It's a win-win. So he doesn't have the risk over here with used that he has with new. So I got him where he wouldn't give me more money for new to give me more money for used. So he gave me the money. I went down about 4-cylinder cars, and in 60 days, the profits from the 4 and the 6-cylinder cars compensated for 8-cylinder cars, and I got rid of that old inventory. That was the key. If I looked at the problem, I was stuck. If I asked God to give me an answer, I was out of the problem. And that was the key, most important thing. So part of that is focus. Your emotions, your feelings are going to look at, I don't have the money in the account, or this is my problem, or I got this, I got that. You've got to know all that. I'm not saying ignore it and go to Disney World and pretend it doesn't exist and live a fairy tale life. What I'm saying is recognize the problem, but once you recognize it, put all your focus on the answer. And ask God, what do I have that he can multiply? What do I have that he can do? What do I have I can see that I've seen that I can plant that he can multiply? What can I do to change the circumstances and become proactive? And when you do that, it's going to change your circumstances. So I don't know which one of these principles is going to work for you. I don't know what you've learned tonight. What I've learned is I better carry around 2 pictures of my Porsche, not 1. And I better carry my PowerPoint in my case and not just send it. So I've learned 2 things that have been good for me tonight. But whatever it is of these principles, at least everybody in this room, I'm saying that. How many of you in this room think you got at least one thing that you could use tonight in your life? Okay? One thing that could help you. Okay? All right. Now here's what I'd like you to do. If you've been taking notes, look at we're going to take 10, 15 seconds. Look at your notes of the points I made. Put a star by the one that you think you could begin to activate this week. Would be most important for you to activate this week. Put a star by that one. You can do all of them, but if you didn't take notes and you're thinking about it in your mind, say this is the one. That's it. But identify. Let's get it out of 7 and get it down to 1. Because the best way to solve 7 problems is starting with the first one. All right? Now, I am going to pray that God is going to help you with that star. He's going to help you with that one thing. And that one thing, when that gets solved, you can go to number 2. But that one thing is going to begin to release fresh increase into your life. Are you ready? Your people are so good. They already got that up there. Thank you. Would you like one of my download cards? Whoever did that, just go to the table. It's free just for being so good. You're doing more than what's expected. Thank you. Who is it? Oh, let's give her a hand for her great work. Thank you. No. See, I didn't expect it. That's what I mean. When you do more than expected, it shows up and you get blessed. Perfect example. Yeah. Amen. All right. Are you ready? Let's say this prayer together. Father, I come to you today, and I thank you for your word. Your word shows you want me to increase. Lord, I have identified one area that I want to increase and change in. Give me an action plan. Show me what to do. Give me the timing. Give me the wisdom. And I thank you in advance that I am going to increase in this area. And I praise you for that in advance. Amen. Now praise and thank you for that. Well, we praise you, Father. Right on. If what you were praying about really happened, would you be excited?
Yes.
Then the key to praise is that we get excited before it happens, because the praise is what it causes it to happen. So I want to end one more time. And this time I want us to praise and thank God as if it happened. That's the way. All right? Father, we thank you and we praise you that it's going to happen. Yes! All right. Praise you, Lord. We thank you. We praise you. We magnify you. We worship you. We glorify you. Praise you, Lord. It is going to happen. I believe that.
Amen. Praise God.
I am believing for 30-day testimonies of those you invested tonight to come here, that one or more areas of your life are going to increase and change in the next 30 days. Amen. Will you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Amen.
Let me pray a prayer blessing over you. Lord, I just thank you for this incredible group of people and the warmth and the love that even a visitor feels here in their midst. Father, I pray and I mix my faith with their faith for increase and positive change in their life. Lord, there's some here I know that are hurting. Some that are desperate. But Father, you specialize in reaching people in the valley and bringing them back to the mountain. I pray for those especially tonight, that you give them encouragement, that you help them to increase their faith, and you start to bring a fresh joy and happiness into their life. But for all of them, Lord, I ask you to release a blessing of increase into their lives. Lord, you've not only given me a message, you've placed an anointing upon this ministry. And I release that anointing into their lives, the anointing of multiplication, the anointing of right timing, the anointing of divine appointments, the anointing of release of wisdom and strategies. And Lord, I thank you that that is released into their lives and their businesses and their homes. And Lord, I ask you to bless them, and they're coming in and going out in the city and the fields and all they set their hands to. Amen. God bless you. I've enjoyed being with you. Thank you.